Are you
Hey guys, so I have successfully been farming Cyrus the Awakener and wanted to show you all the way I approach the whole encounter and hopefully point out some things to help you get your own Cyrus kills. I will not be going over every aspect of the fight, but if you want me to do a follow-up video on that, then let me know. This video is intended to help alleviate the frustrations many people have had with the fight. First and foremost, the most complaints I hear from my stream and reading online, as well as my main issues I had in my first bunch of attempts, are all due to the black holes. They block the entrance. They deal so much damage. You can't see when they are moving till it's too late. You spend most of the fight fighting the arena and not the boss himself, and so on and so forth. So, before you ever learn the actual boss mechanics during the fight, we have to understand the black holes and how to deal with them throughout the fight. There are a bunch of black holes in the arena before the fight begins. These black holes are stationary and will never move on their own accord. Cyrus has 4 stages. Every time you transition from one of these stages, he will create a black hole directly underneath him. These created black holes will move and follow you. There are 2 ways to manage the black holes. One is to kite the black holes to the edges of the arena and then run back to Cyrus. The other method, the one that I use and will show in this video, is to actually completely ignore the black holes altogether and just follow Cyrus around. Cyrus will float along a fixed path, which is a circle starting from the center, moving south, then west towards the stairs, and then back towards where he starts the fight. A word of warning for this: dying during this fight may make this strat impossible to do. Every time you die during the first 3 phases, he will create a black hole. If you are not self-positioning these black holes, you could end up blocking off the entrance, since the black holes get pushed north when you trigger the phases. So, onto the actual method. Once we pushed him out of phase 1, Cyrus will create the first black hole. We will move to the very bottom of the arena to where these tents are. Standing here is the first safe spot. Once the black hole is summoned, we need to wait until Cyrus floats south outside of the black hole. We can watch his shadow, and when there is a little gap between the top of his shadow and the black hole, we can run up to him directly underneath him to trigger his dialogue. The black hole will stay stationary, and then the temporary circle arena will be created and push the black hole away. We repeat the exact same thing for when we finish phase 2. We get to the same tent at the bottom. We once again wait for Cyrus to float out of the black hole. When there is a gap between the shadow and the black hole, we run back underneath him to trigger the dialogue, create the temporary arena, and push the black hole away. After the 3rd phase, we now need to head west towards the stairs. There should be a gap between the black holes for you to go through. Sometimes the gap is smaller, but most of the time it's perfectly fine for you to run down. We wait for Cyrus to float west outside of the final black hole. I usually wait till he casts a spell, then run further back, then come back in, and by that time he is usually outside the black hole. Go underneath for the last time, trigger the dialogue, and the final temporary arena. You do not want to wait too long triggering the final phase, as getting him anywhere close to the stairs can really make the final phase harder. The next important thing to understand is what the floating Cyrus does during each phase fight. He will have 3 skills which he uses and will only use one of them during that whole phase. He has dual laser beams, the fire font, and the meteor with ground degen. Once you start the fight, there is a 2 to 3 second wait before floating Cyrus will cast one of these abilities. What I tend to do is just make sure I'm moving for the first couple of seconds until he does one of the attacks. The reason is, the meteors can and will one-shot, especially if you have negative chaos res. If you are moving when the meteors are cast, you will not get hit. Once you have seen which ability he used, you will know how to approach the rest of the phase. If he uses the dual lasers, just don't stand around in the middle of the arena and you will dodge this all the time. The fire fonts are very noticeable, so just don't stand in them. The meteors will leave behind a ground degen that removes your regen and deals a lot of damage. These are hard to notice, but once you see him cast this ability, then you know you have to look out for them. He will recast about every 10 seconds or so you have to time it and anticipate the meteor by being on the move every 10 seconds, so you never get hit by the meteor. Once you've figured out these mechanics, the rest of the fight is actually well telegraphed and avoidable once you know what the attack is. Cyrus's attacks can all be learnt after an attempt or two, even with no prior knowledge of the fight. If you want me to go over the attacks during each Cyrus phase, then let me know in the comments. I hope with this new knowledge many of you are now able to get your Cyrus kill, or at least start to learn the fight now that hopefully the frustrating parts are easily handled.